Your car might be the biggest thing quietly draining your bank account. And most people don't realize it because they only look at one number, the monthly payment. You see a car advertised for $499 a month and think, yeah, I could probably afford that. But the car doesn't cost $499 a month. You still have insurance, gas, maintenance, repairs, registration, interest. And the car itself is losing value while you're paying for it. That's the part people forget. A car isn't just something you buy once. It's a financial commitment that keeps charging you after you've driven it off the lot. Let's say you buy a $30,000 car. The salesperson gets you focused on a $500 monthly payment, and suddenly $30,000 doesn't sound like $30,000 anymore. It sounds like $500. That's a huge psychological difference. Because $30,000 feels like a serious financial decision, $500 feels like a bill. And that's exactly why monthly payments can be so misleading. You could stretch the loan over more years and make an expensive car look surprisingly affordable each month. But spreading the cost out doesn't make the car cheaper. It just means you're committed to making payments for longer, and depending on the financing, you may pay more interest overall. And while you're making those payments, the car is generally becoming less valuable. So you can end up with a strange situation. You're sending money to the lender every month, while the thing you're paying for is losing value. Then there's everything else. A $500 payment plus $150 insurance plus $150 in gas already puts you at $800 a month. That's $9,600 a year before you've even paid for maintenance or unexpected repairs. And suddenly that $500 car looks very different. This doesn't mean buying a nice car is automatically a bad decision. If you love cars, can comfortably afford one, and understand the cost, that's your money. The problem is buying a car because you can technically make the payment without realizing how much of your income that payment is going to lock up. Because once that commitment is there, you can't just decide next month that you'd rather spend the money somewhere else. And that's when a car can become one of the worst financial decisions you make. Not because cars are bad, but because the number you were shown was never the number you were actually paying. Once you stop looking at the payment, you start seeing where the money actually goes. Take that $30,000 car. The loan might be $500 a month, but now add $150 for insurance and another $150 for gas. You're already at $800 a month. That's $9,600 a year just to keep the car on the road. And then real life happens. You need new tires, an oil change, brakes, a battery. Maybe something breaks at exactly the moment you really didn't need it to. You can't predict every repair, but you can budget for the fact that cars cost money to maintain. And then there's depreciation. This is one of the biggest expenses because you don't actually receive a bill for it. You just own a car that's worth less than it was before. Imagine buying a car for $30,000 and eventually selling it for $18,000. That's a $12,000 drop in value. You didn't send anyone a $12,000 payment, but financially, you still lost that value by owning the car. This is why comparing cars only by their purchase price can be misleading. A $25,000 car isn't automatically cheaper than a $30,000 car. Again, if the cheaper car loses value quickly, costs more to insure, uses more fuel, or needs expensive repairs, the difference can shrink surprisingly fast. So before you buy anything, calculate the total cost of ownership. Take the purchase or loan cost, add insurance, estimate your fuel, add a realistic amount for maintenance and repairs, then consider depreciation. Now you have a much better idea of what the car is actually costing you. And there's another number you need to look at, interest. If you're financing a car, the amount you borrow isn't necessarily the amount you'll repay. For example, you might finance $27,000, but after interest in the full loan term, the total amount paid could be significantly higher. The exact number depends on your interest rate and loan length, so don't just look at the monthly payment. Look for the total amount you'll pay over the life of the loan. That's the number that tells you what the financing is really costing, because a dealer can make the same car look very different just by changing the loan length. A $40,000 car with a longer loan can produce a monthly payment that looks manageable. But you've still bought a $40,000 car, and you've potentially agreed to years of payments. That's why one of the worst questions you can walk into a dealership with is, how much can I get this down to per month? You're basically asking them to make the expensive number disappear. Instead, you want to know the total price, the interest rate, the loan length, and the total amount you'll repay. Then you can decide whether the car actually fits your life. Because the goal isn't to find the biggest car payment you can survive. It's to find a car that leaves you with enough money to live, save, and deal with whatever comes next. The biggest cost of an expensive car isn't always the money you spend on the car. Sometimes it's what that money stops you from doing. Say you have an extra $10,000 available, you could use it toward a more expensive car. Or you could keep a cheaper car and use that money somewhere else. Maybe it gives you more room to handle an emergency. Maybe it helps you pay down expensive debt. Maybe it goes toward a future goal. The important part is that the $10,000 only gets to be spent once. That's opportunity cost. And cars create a lot of it because they're such large purchases. You don't just spend money when you buy the car. You also commit future income to keeping it. That can change the rest of your budget. Imagine someone earns $60,000 a year and decides they can handle a $700 car payment. Technically, they might be able to make the payment, but then add insurance, gas, maintenance, and everything else. Suddenly, a large portion of their monthly income is already spoken for before they even pay rent, groceries, or anything else. And that's where "I can afford it" becomes a dangerous phrase. There are two very different questions. Can I make the payment? And can I comfortably own this car? A lender is mostly interested in the first question. You should care about the second because your car shouldn't force you to say no to everything else. And there's another trap that happens after you buy an expensive car. Your idea of what's normal changes. You get used to the heated seats, the bigger screen, the nicer interior. Then a few years later, the car is getting older. You start looking at newer models. The payment doesn't seem that much higher. Maybe your income has gone up too. So you upgrade again. That's how car spending can grow alongside your income without you ever feeling like you're making an outrageous decision. You earn more. You spend more. Your lifestyle gets more expensive, and somehow you're still wondering where the money went. This is why a car decision should be judged by what it does to your financial flexibility. Imagine two people with the same income. One has a $250 monthly car cost. The other has a $900 monthly car cost. The second person isn't necessarily doing anything wrong. Maybe they love their car and it's worth it to them. But the first person has $650 more every month that isn't committed to the car. That's $7,800 a year. That money gives them options. They can save it, spend it, use it for travel, handle an unexpected expense, or simply have less pressure every month. That's what a cheaper car can buy you that doesn't show up on the window sticker: freedom. So before you decide what car you want, decide how much financial flexibility you're willing to give up for it. Because the most expensive car isn't necessarily the one with the highest price. Sometimes it's the one that makes everything else in your life harder to afford. So before you sign anything, do one final calculation. Take the monthly payment, add insurance, add your average fuel cost, add a realistic amount for maintenance and repairs, then look at the total. That's your real monthly car cost. Now multiply it by 12. Seeing the yearly number can completely change the decision. A car that costs you $800 a month isn't really an $800 decision. It's a $9,600 a year decision. And if that number makes you uncomfortable, that's useful information. You should also look at the entire loan. Check the interest rate, check how long you're making payments, and check the total amount you'll repay, not just the monthly figure. Then compare different cars based on what they actually cost to own. A $30,000 car with lower insurance, better fuel economy, and slower depreciation could potentially make more financial sense than a $25,000 car that's expensive to insure and maintain. And don't let a dealership decide your budget for you. Go in knowing your numbers. If you start with, I can afford $600 a month, they can work backward from that number and find a way to make the payment look manageable. Instead, decide what you're comfortable spending before you start shopping. Most importantly, leave yourself some breathing room. You don't want a car that consumes every dollar you can technically afford, because the real test isn't, can I make the payment? It's, can I make the payment and still have a life? A car can absolutely be worth spending money on. It can get you to work, give you freedom, make your daily life easier, and yes, sometimes you just really love cars. That's fine. The mistake is pretending the car costs only what the advertisement says it costs. So next time you see a car advertised for $499 a month, don't ask yourself whether you can afford $499. Calculate the whole thing, because you're not buying a $499 payment. You're buying the car, the insurance, the gas, the maintenance, the interest, the depreciation, and years of financial commitment that come with it. Buy the car you can comfortably own, not the car with a payment you can barely survive. Because at the end of the day, the best car for your finances isn't necessarily the cheapest one. It's the one that lets you enjoy your life without your car owning your paycheck.